If you're considering using your Post-9/11 for vocational flight training, there are some very important disadvantages you should know before getting started.
Oh, what a stroke of luck.
Leave in the comments below why you are interested in the vocational route instead of the 141 degree granting route, just so I can get a better idea of where you guys are coming from. All right, you crusty old veterans. If you are looking into using your Post-9/11 for vocational flight training, which is non-degree flight training, still would have to be a 141 school though. If you're looking into that, there's some very important disadvantages that you should know before you jump into it. And I'll categorize them, I'll say 4 or 5 disadvantages. The first 2 are more minor, and then I'd say the other 3 are more major. So the first 2 is the housing allowance and the book stipend. If you choose to go the vocational flight route, you will not get a housing allowance or that book stipend. The book stipend normally comes yearly with Post-9/11 if you go to an institution of higher learning. That normally comes yearly, but that housing allowance comes every single month, and it depends on your zip code. So you may be receiving anywhere from $1,000 to, I want to say, places in California, you probably get $4,000. So that is a lot of money you will potentially be losing out on. If that doesn't matter to you, maybe you just want to get the ratings over with and you're not worried about the money, that's completely fine, but that's something you should know. Don't be expecting, a housing allowance for the months that you were doing that rating. If you go the vocational route, you're not going to be getting one. Now, the next three things are what I consider more major things. First is the yearly max. The current yearly max for vocational flight training is just over $17,000, meaning the VA will pay out to a maximum of $17,000 for vocational flight training. And you can see where that may be a problem is getting into your commercial training, especially if you plan on doing multi-engine. The school I'm going to currently, granted it's a 141 degree granting program, so a little more expensive than just a normal old 141. But as of 2023, so even a few years ago, it was $23,000 or $24,000, meaning that if this were the case and this were a vocational route that I was doing, that would mean I would have to pay up to $7,000 out of pocket. Maybe that's okay for some people. Maybe that's not a big deal. Maybe we're just trying to get the majority of it covered. But that's a good thing to know before you get into it, is your max coverage in 1 year, no matter what, is going to be $17,000. I think it's $17,091 for 2025. Now, a degree granting program, you're going to get a lot more, because in the eyes of the VA, if you go for flight training at an institution of higher learning, the flight costs are looked at basically the same as paying for a degree. So there aren't as many, the maxes are higher on what can be paid out in a year, and you also have the advantages of programs like Yellow Ribbon, in which the university helps cover any costs that are above what the VA will cover in a year. But Yellow Ribbon, you're not going to be getting that for vocational flight training, and that's another important thing to keep in mind, that any cost above and beyond what the VA would pay out as a yearly max to you for vocational flight training, any cost above that, you're going to have to pay out of pocket. The second major issue is entitlement, and how entitlement is charged for vocational training. So how the VA determines how your entitlement is charged, so how many months they take from your 36 months if you're going to a vocational flight school, is done by using this equation. So it's the cost of the program divided by the yearly max divided by 12. So you can see if you just do some simple math here and you put the yearly max, 17,091, in the numerator, and you divide that by the quotient of 17,091 divided by 12, you will get 12, meaning that if you use that yearly max, then they will take 12 months from your GI Bill. Maybe it's just me, but that seems like a lot of time to lose from your GI Bill. I am the type of person that thinks you should hold on to your GI Bill as long as possible. Make that thing stretch as far as you can, because it is worth it, man. It's free education, and you never know when you're going to use it again. So if you could keep some months in your pocket for a rainy day, I say you should try to do that. And 12 months coming out of your pocket just like that, it seems like a lot of time to me, especially when you could do the same thing. Say you went for a commercial program, the vocational route, that commercial route's going to take 12 months. But if you do the same thing and you go to a degree granting 141 school, you could do that commercial rating in, I would say, 6 to 7 months, meaning the VA would take 6 to 7 months off of your GI Bill. So it would take you about a year to complete the rating, 2 semesters, and keep in mind that would also mean you would get other classes on top of that, so you'd be getting more education, more experience, and you'd also be getting the housing allowance and the book stipend on top of that. So you're getting way more money out of your GI Bill. I mean, just consider the fact that you'd be going to school for, say, 8 months out of that, and if you get a $1,000 stipend every month, that's $8,000 that you would otherwise be missing out on if you went to a vocational program. So that's just me. Maybe you prefer to just get through your ratings as fast as possible, and that's what would work for you, and that's totally cool. But in my eyes, I look at it as the way of I'm trying to stretch my GI Bill, my post-9/11 out as far as I can. I'm looking to that 141 degree route opposed to the vocational route, because that 12 months just disappears like that, and I'm not getting any housing with it or anything like that. It's just gone. But that's just me. Lastly, the third major thing is the private pilot license. If you choose the vocational route, you will have to pay for your private pilot license out of pocket. There is absolutely no way getting around it. You have to go to, the only way to get your private pilot license paid for is if you go to an institution of higher learning, so a degree granting program 141 school that has a private pilot course attached to that degree program. That's the only way you will get a private pilot license paid for. Any vocational route, you have to pay for the private pilot license out of pocket first, and then the VA will pick it up from there.